Kev's unexpected return to the village has already caused chaos, and it hasn't taken long for his complicated history to become the center of attention once again. His arrival came in the aftermath of an extraordinary chain of events that few could have predicted. Everything spiraled after his illegitimate son, Barton, was kidnapped and held for ransom because of Kev's reckless actions. The ordeal stemmed from Kev stealing the ashes of his former girlfriend's beloved cat, which had been compressed into a valuable diamond. What began as another ill-judged criminal scheme quickly turned into a dangerous hostage crisis, leaving several lives hanging in the balance. The dramatic events forced Kev to confront the consequences of his behavior. For years, he had drifted from one bad decision to the next, convincing himself that survival mattered more than responsibility. Yet seeing Lewis placed in mortal danger because of his own actions changed something inside him. For perhaps the first time in years, Kev began questioning the choices that had defined his life. Although he has built a reputation as a criminal with questionable morals, Kev's life has also taken an unusual turn in recent years. Swapping illegal jobs for baking, he has reinvented himself as an exceptionally talented baker whose cakes have earned admiration wherever they are served. The transformation has surprised many people, but even a successful business cannot erase the mistakes of the past. Kev knows that no amount of lemon drizzle cake will make people forget who he used to be. After surviving the hostage nightmare, Kev reaches an emotional conclusion. Rather than continuing to run from his responsibilities, he decides he wants to become a proper father to Lewis. He convinces himself that the traumatic experience was a wake-up call, and that if he truly wants a fresh start, he must begin by repairing the relationship with the son he abandoned years ago. Unfortunately for Kev, Lewis has little reason to trust him. From Lewis' perspective, his biological father has done nothing except create pain and disappointment. Kev disappeared before Lewis even had the chance to know him, leaving him to grow up without the guidance or support that every child deserves. Years later, when fate unexpectedly reunited them, Kev once again dragged Lewis into danger instead of offering stability. Lewis struggles to understand why he should suddenly believe that his father has changed. Words are cheap, particularly when they come from someone with such a long history of lies, theft, and broken promises. Kev insists that everything will be different this time, but Lewis finds it difficult to forget everything that has already happened. The timing only makes matters worse. Rather than enjoying the excitement of finally meeting his biological father, Lewis has found himself caught up in kidnappings, ransom demands, and criminal conspiracies. Every memory connected to Kev seems to involve fear or betrayal, making forgiveness almost impossible. Kev refuses to give up. The rejection clearly hurts him more than he expected. He genuinely believed that surviving the recent crisis would help Lewis see that family deserves a second chance. Instead, he finds himself facing a wall of suspicion. Realizing that simple apologies will never be enough, Kev begins searching for a more meaningful way to demonstrate his commitment. Eventually, he decides on a gesture that he hopes will prove the sincerity of his intentions. He officially changes his surname from Townsend to Barton. To Kev, abandoning his old family name represents much more than paperwork. It symbolizes leaving behind the criminal he used to be, while embracing the family he desperately wants to become part of. He believes adopting Lewis's surname shows that he is committed to building a genuine father and son relationship, rather than disappearing again when life becomes difficult. The decision also carries a deeply personal meaning. Opening up about his past, Kev reflects on the painful experiences that shaped him into the man he became. He admits that many of his worst choices were influenced by years of hardship, regret, and poor judgment. While he accepts that these explanations cannot excuse his actions, he hopes Lewis might at least understand how he reached such a dark place. Kev explains that prison became a revolving door throughout his life. Every time he convinced himself he could leave crime behind, another mistake dragged him back into trouble. He now insists that he never wants to return to that life again. Changing his surname, he says, is his way of drawing a line under everything that came before. More importantly, Kev believes distancing himself from the Townsend name protects Lewis as well. He doesn't want his son constantly reminded of the crimes, scandals, and failures associated with his father. By becoming a Barton, Kev hopes he can spare Lewis from carrying the burden of his damaged reputation. Whether Lewis believes any of this remains another matter entirely. Before the conversation can develop much further, Ross Barton arrives. Ross has heard enough about Kev to know exactly the kind of man he is dealing with, and he wastes little time making his feelings known. Protective of Lewis from the moment Kev entered their lives, Ross has absolutely no intention of standing back while another Barton is hurt. The atmosphere immediately becomes tense. Ross looks ready to settle matters with his fists, making it perfectly clear that he doesn't trust a single word coming out of Kev's mouth. Given Kev's history of crime and deception, Ross believes allowing him anywhere near Lewis is asking for trouble. Before the confrontation can explode, Lewis steps between them. To Ross' surprise, Lewis admits that despite everything, he wants to give his father one final opportunity. It isn't because he suddenly trusts Kev, but because he doesn't want to spend the rest of his life wondering whether things could have been different. Ross is visibly frustrated by the decision. He knows Lewis has a kind heart and worries that Kev will simply take advantage of it. Even so, Ross recognizes that this is ultimately Lewis's choice to make. Reluctantly, he agrees to step aside. That doesn't stop him delivering one unmistakable warning. Ross tells Kev that if he hurts Lewis again in any way, there will be serious consequences. He promises that another betrayal won't be forgiven, and Kev will discover exactly why Ross has earned such a fearsome reputation. Kev accepts the warning without argument, fully aware that he has done little to deserve anyone's confidence. Ross is far from the only person keeping a close eye on the newcomer. Nicola King also becomes increasingly suspicious of Kev's motives. Having witnessed the emotional turmoil Lewis has already endured, she refuses to let history repeat itself. Nicola doesn't need to shout or threaten violence to make her opinion known. One icy conversation is enough for Kev to understand exactly where he stands. She tells him that Lewis deserves honesty, stability, and genuine love, not more lies wrapped up as good intentions. If Kev lets Lewis down again, Nicola will be among the first people holding him accountable. Despite Kev insisting he has changed, Ross remains convinced disaster is inevitable. In his opinion, people rarely escape their true nature forever. Criminals may promise reform, but eventually old habits return. Ross believes it is simply a matter of time before Kev proves everyone right. His prediction appears uncannily accurate when another shocking incident rocks the village. Not long afterwards, someone breaks into the café under the cover of darkness. The intruder searches the premises before stealing the cash box and disappearing without leaving an obvious trace. The discovery leaves everyone stunned. Lewis arrives to find the café in complete disarray. Furniture has been disturbed, drawers pulled open, and signs of forced entry are impossible to ignore. Nicola is equally horrified by what has happened. Naturally, attention quickly turns towards Kev. Given his criminal background, many people assume he must have reverted to his old ways. For several villagers, the burglary simply confirms everything they had feared since his arrival. The accusations spread rapidly. Emmerdale airs on weekday evenings at 8 p.m. on ITV1 and is also available for streaming on ITVX.